Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities, and it's always a pleasure to talk about TradeStation technology. Today, we're going to talk about technical analysis, specifically candlestick patterns, and what type of analysis techniques are in TradeStation to help you identify these patterns on the chart. So let's go ahead and go through some of the disclosures before we get started. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we talk about here is for educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and that past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. If anybody needs a little bit more information on these disclosures, go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. All right, guys. First of all, let me share with you this PowerPoint, which we'll be using, during this presentation. So let me go ahead and pull it up. All right. Here you go. It's right there in the chat. It's a PDF. And I'm also going to share with all of you a zip folder, a zip file. Let me just pull it up here as well. So this is it. And we'll talk about it too right here in class. So PDF and zip. I'll show you what's inside the zip and how you can open it. But for now, let's go through some of the built-in candlestick pattern recognition studies that are in TradeStation. So let's go over to my TradeStation platform. We were doing some testing on strategies just in our prior class. Let me go ahead and close some of these workspaces. Okay, and let me open up a new chart. Okay, and this new chart of RTY, let me set this to a daily chart. Perfect. I'm going to go here to the studies because I'm going to show you where those studies are. Studies, add studies, and most of the candlestick recognition type of studies are in here in the category Show Me. And if you scroll to where you see the C's, and the C underscore to be more specific, that's where you're going to find all the candlestick pattern studies built into the TradeStation platform. If we count, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20, 11, 20, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I had the number 20 in my head, and I jumped from 11 to 20. But there's 20 specific candlestick show me's that are built into TradeStation, and you put them on the chart, and it just marks whenever that pattern is identified. You're going to find that the PDF that I'm sharing with you has 23 different slides. If you remove the title slide and the disclosure slide, and there's another disclosure slide at the very end of the PDF, that leaves you with 20 pages on that PDF. So that means that there's a page for each one of the candlestick show me's that are part of the TradeStation platform. And it just gives you a description of how the indicator or how the pattern is developed and how to identify it. Let's start off with this candlestick, 3 white soldiers and 3 black crows. I'm going to click OK and OK. So it seems like in this particular data set, that is not identified anywhere. So let's go here to, let me edit the studies because I wanted to change the style before it went on the chart. I just want to make it bigger. And the color is going to be that blue. All right, so let's see if we see that blue historically on this chart, and we don't. Just the bar pattern is not present anywhere. Let's go here to an intraday. Yeah, nothing. So it seems like it's a pattern that it's difficult to find or to identify on a chart. I can go here on 5 years of data. Yeah, sometimes you put something on the chart and it just doesn't show up. Not because it's not working, it's just that it doesn't find the pattern. Now, if we go back to the PDF, let me go back here to my presentation. This is the pattern. The white soldiers, 3 white soldiers, 3 advancing consecutive green candles. So that's what we see here. 1, 2, 3 advancing green candles. 3 candles should close at near their highs. So yeah, these are closing near their highs. An opening of the second candle and third candle should be inside the body of the previous candle. So we see this second candle, it opened over here. It's in the middle of the prior candle. And then we have the opening of this third candle is opening inside the body of the prior candle. So it's a very specific condition. I'm surprised actually that I don't see this pattern inside of the chart we were looking at. But it may be difficult to have this specific setup and to be able to identify it right here on the chart. The black crows is the same thing, but in the other direction. So you have 3 declining consecutive red candles. The 3 lines should close at near their lows. And the opening of the second and the third candle should be inside the body of the previous candle. Go back here to the chart. AAPL. What do you mean? I have an incorrect symbol for Apple. Has anything happened to Apple? I don't think it has, right? Apple is not coming up. Incorrect symbol. So removed. I had gotten this message when I launched my trade station this morning that it removed some of my staged orders because of the tick pilot program. I'm not sure if you guys got this message, but now I'm trying to enter just a regular symbol like WMT for Walmart. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm not sure what was happening there, but I wasn't getting the show me. Let's see if I find a symbol. No, it doesn't seem like, yeah. Or at least recently, I don't see any symbols that are showing any type of the 3 white soldiers or 3 black crows. Are you guys see any symbols that have that? The pattern seems to be very specific. I don't see it anywhere here. All right. So good thing that we have, that PowerPoint that gives you a description of how the pattern should look. So let's go through some of these. So again, we have 20 pages of Candlestick PDF. Everyone gives you a description of how the candlestick pattern is made. So we have an abandoned baby, and we have those in 2 versions, the bullish and bearish. A lot of times the abandoned baby is going to be a doji that it's kind of separated from the rest of the candles. So you see, like on this screenshot, you see candles at the very top, and this doji candle is kind of separated from the rest. That's why it's kind of called like an abandoned baby. The same thing happens here, but on the other side, you have all the candles appearing right here at the bottom, but all of a sudden this doji, it's towards the top. Okay, so that's it's an interesting type of bar pattern. You have the advanced block. We have an upward trend. So 3 white candles, in this case, are green candles. So they get progressively shorter real bodies. If you look at the real bodies of these candles, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. But the open of the second and third candles are going to be within the real body. So similar to what we saw with the white soldiers, the opening has to be inside of the body. But the upper shadows, we're talking about the wick here, gradually becomes taller. So interesting bar pattern, you know? So when we start seeing this, there's pressure from buyers pushing the prices up, but not enough to sustain or maintain the prices up there. You see how the prices drop significantly from that high, creating these long wicks, you know? So this is an interesting setup. We have the bearish and bullish engulfing. Interesting bar pattern where the body of one candle is pretty much bigger than the one preceding it. So that's why it's called engulfing. And there's a bullish setup and there's a bearish setup. But we look at the real body. We don't count the high and the low, but we have these bodies that are pretty much bigger than the prior one. We have the bullish and bearish Harami. So we have a green candle that is small and is inside a red candle. So interesting concept. It's like the opposite of the one we saw previously. This is the engulfing, where the pattern, where the real body is bigger than the previous one. The Harami is the opposite. The body of the candle is smaller and it's always within the previous one. But you have opposing colors in those two candles. So you have a big red real body, and then you have a small green real body inside of it. Okay, interesting concept as well. You have the doji. This is one of the ones that I think everyone understands what it is. You know, you have an opening and a closing price that are pretty close to each other, if not the same. So you get on the chart what appears to be like a cross on the candlestick. So that's a doji. We have a hammer and a hanging man that are very similar. It just means that you have a real body that is closer to the upper half of the candle. So pretty much you have a real body with a long wick at the bottom. We see that reflected over here where the blue dot is. And we also see it reflected here where the red dot is. So the formation's the same. What happens is that the hammer is formed at a bottom and the hanging man is formed at the top. That's the difference between the two. All right. We have a Harami cross, bullish and bearish. Okay, so on a bullish one, it forms after a downtrend. The first candlestick is a long down candle, which indicates that the sellers are in control. The second candle, the doji. Okay. The doji candlestick closes near the open, and doji must be completely contained with the real body of the prior candle. And I was looking at these pictures and something doesn't match, you know? What I read here doesn't match this, because one of the conditions here is it says doji must be completely contained with the real body of the prior candle. And if I look at the doji, well, first of all, I don't see a doji here. I could technically say that this is a doji because of the proximity of the open and the close, but not really. The doji is here though. So this is, let's see, this is the downtrend. The first candle is a long down candle. The second candle, the doji. Okay, this one seems to be meeting the condition a little bit better, but it must be contained within the real body of the prior candle. So you see this doji is not within the body of the prior one. Let me put these on the chart and see if we can identify these patterns. These are the bullish Harami cross and the bearish Harami cross. Let me put them right here. Studies, add studies, show me. So I'm going to go here to the candlestick area, and we are taking a look at the Harami cross. Okay, I'm going to make those dots a little bit bigger. Okay, and let's see if we see them. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is more like what we had described, right? Let's take a look. So we have, this is the bearish one. So cross forms after an uptrend. If we go back over here, we kind of see a little bit of an uptrend if you look at the prior candles. The first candle is a long up candle, which shows buyers are in control. So we look at that candle, just looking at this candle right here, there's a big push on this candle. The real body, it's pretty big. It opened down here and it closed up here. So we do see that pressure from buyers. But then this is followed by a doji, which shows indecision on the buyers. Yeah, whenever you have a doji, the bar opens and closes at the same level. So that movement up and down, creating these wicks up and down, are not sustained. That movement's not sustained. The pressure's not as strong as when it first opened. It kind of just fell flat, which is a doji. But again, the doji must be contained within the real body of the prior candle. And that's exactly what we see here. The doji, it's inside the real body of the prior candle. So when you go back to the PowerPoint, these two screenshots don't really match the description of the Harami cross. That's why sometimes I like to go to the chart and put the indicator in there just to confirm. An inverted hammer is just the same description of a hammer, but upside down. This is where the real body is on the bottom half of the candle. So it's identical. It says right here. We'll put a cursor, a highlighter. Not a highlighter, sorry, a laser pointer. So it's identical to the hammer, except for the longer upper shadow, which indicates buying pressure after the opening price. So it does have a wick on the upper side. So an inverted hammer is what you see right there on the screen. If we were to put it right here on my chart, let me zoom out. I'm getting that issue with the little buttons here going off the screen. Okay. Yeah, I see something that is not right, but it's okay. We'll stress about that later. I'm going to go to studies, add study. Again, show me. That's an inverted hammer. The color, it's kind of blue, and the style, let's put it as a big old dot. Right there, we have an inverted hammer. Let's zoom in. We see how there's the real body, it's on the bottom half, and then we have a wick right here on the top. There was buying pressure, but it didn't, sustain that strength. Perfect. We have we have a candlestick called kicking. Again, it occurs during a downtrend. The first candle is a long and down. There's a gap between the first candle and the second candle is a long up. The longer the candles are, the stronger the signal. So what we're looking at is the two prior candles. I'm not sure why the show me dot appears on the wick here, because the description doesn't mention a wick. It does mention that there's a big down candle and that it opens up like a gap. You see there's a gap right here, and then there's a pressure going up. So you have, like, back to back, you have two opposing candles, one that is extreme on the downside and the other one that is extreme on the upside, and they're back to back. That's called kicking. If we come here to my chart, you see how my overlays are disappearing? That's something that wasn't happening before. I'm not sure if any of you guys are getting that issue, but now I'm trying to get out. Okay, that was weird. So anytime you come down here, you should get those overlays, and sometimes I'm not getting them. Let me go to studies and edit studies, remove the ones that I have here so that I don't get confused. Now let's go to studies, add studies, and I said that I wanted to show or add one called kicking. All right, let's see if we have any dots here. Again, it's a very specific type of candlestick formation, and sometimes it's tough to have the criteria show up. You put it on a chart, you don't see that formation very often. So it seems like it's not there. So let's go and change the symbol here. I wonder, when you put an indicator like this, let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to go here to studies, edit studies. I want to take a look at the easy language and see. This is the easy language for that kicking show me. And if I scroll down, it uses a function called C_kicking. Let me right click and open up the function just to take a look at the calculation. So high. Then it's using also the Marubozu. There's another candlestick formation called Marubozu. I wasn't really aware that kicking uses Marubozu, but it seems like it's right here. It's interesting. I'm not gonna go into the detail. I wanted to see if I could show me right here, but it seems like it's not coming up. Okay. And here we have the Marubozu. It's a long green candle. And it's usually the open equals the low and the close equals the high. So it's kind of a very long candle without the wick. It happens on an up candle and also happens on a down candle. That's what's called a Marubozu. Meeting lines involves just two candles, one black and one white. In this case, it will be one red and one green. They meet at the close. So this is what you see right here. So there's a down candle that closes, and then it opens at the next level. Actually, no, it opens down here, but they meet. The two closing prices meet at the same level, which is an interesting setup. And it happens right here too. You see, we have an up candle, then it gapped up, but it came down here. So the two closing prices of the candles are at the same level. That's called meeting lines. Morning and evening star. Again, there's a 3 candlestick pattern. The first is a long red, followed by a small body that gaps lower to form the star. And the third is a green candle that closes well into the first candle's real body. So this is the behavior here. We have down candle, gaps down, creating sort of a small body similar to a cross or a star. And then you have an up candle that closes the gap in between those two. Right here, we have similar behavior. We have up candle, gaps up, creates a small candle, and then we close the gap on the third candle. So what I recommend you guys do is keep this PDF as a reference guide as to what is the criteria for each one of these candles. There's a lot of information online about how these should be interpreted. So I didn't want this to become a class of identifying, trading signals for these, because I don't want the class to appear as recommendations. But there's a lot of things going on in here and a lot of different patterns that you can identify inside of your charts. We have a piercing line and a dark cloud. So in a piercing line, we have a big green candle, which opens below the low of the previous red candle and closes above half the previous bar's real body. So some of these conditions can get really technical, and the price trend is declining. So here we have the price trend declining. We have a big green candle opens below the low of the previous candle. So that meets the criteria, but then it closes above half the previous bar's real body. So we have a close right here higher. So that's what's called the piercing line. And the dark cloud is similar, but in the opposite direction. This is a shooting star. The body of the candle is small, but not a doji. And near the low of the bar, the tail is usually twice as long as the body. The price trend is rising. The body gaps up from the body of the previous bar. So it's what's happening right here. Okay. And this is, the Tasuki gap. It just goes down the list on all the different patterns. And you have 3 methods here right at the end. And 3 stars in the south, 3 star. So rather than, reading the PowerPoints and reading all the different criteria, all these indicators, can be inserted inside a chart on their own, and you can have all these dots up here on the chart. They don't give you the name though. For example, if you had multiple candlesticks, let's say that you pick up five candlestick patterns, and you put those show me's into the chart, you're just going to see dots. It doesn't really tell you what those patterns are. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to go to add study. I'm going to go to show me, and let me add. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I want to add these top 10. Okay, I don't want to prompt for edit. So all those dots, they're right here on the chart. If you guys see on yesterday's bar, we have a magenta dot. I don't know what that pattern is. I can probably, try to identify it here. If I click on hold, I can see what the name of the pattern is. You can see it right there on the data tips window. It's a bearish engulfing, bear ENG. And it tells you, well, the 286.51 is the low of the bar because that's where the dot is. It doesn't have any particular meaning in reference to the pattern, but this is a bullish, this is a bearish engulfing. Here we have an orange dot. If we click it and hold, you see at the bottom, it identifies that candle as a doji. Here we have a red dot. If I click and hold, now this is the hanging man that is being identified right here. So yeah, the show me's as themselves, they're great if you're looking for maybe one pattern or two. But if you combine a lot, then it starts getting difficult to know which one's which. Yes, if you go to my workspace, or it's not my workspace, it's a package that was created a long time ago that has names because they were redesigned or kind of enhanced. So we're talking about the zip folder. If you haven't gotten it, let me share that link with everyone here one more time. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to open it up here so you guys can see it. All right, here's what's inside of that zip folder. You have an ELD, you have a workspace, and you also have a PDF. This PDF right here was created by Michael Burke. So you can take a look. It does have additional information on candles. The one that I provided you earlier has a description on each one of the candlestick patterns. Here's a chart that gives you kind of what each pattern looks like. All right, so I wanted to provide a little bit more detail on those patterns. But let's go here. The first thing you need to do before you open up the workspace, you need to install the ELD. This is an easy language document file. So we're going to double click on that. It opens up the import wizard. You go through the different wizard windows, import all those techniques. All right, that finishes. And those custom tools are already inside of your TradeStation. So we come back to the zip folder and we double click on the workspace. And the workspace does do a great job, as Rich pointed out, in identifying these formations a little bit better, because in addition to giving you the dot or the little cross, it prints some text letting you know what the formation is. Which chart were we looking at? We were looking at Microsoft Daily. So if I come here and I type in Microsoft, so what's the name of this one? Doesn't have a name, right? This candle has a little dot, but doesn't have the name. Maybe that needs to be fixed. This is a bearish engulfing pattern. But the nice thing about this, yes, it has a print text along with the dots, so you can see where the formations are historically without having to click and hold your mouse button. But the nice thing, or the nicer study that is part here of this workspace, is that you can have the candlestick put into one single column. This is important because if you were to have all those show me studies added to radar screen, which you can, each one of them would be in individual columns. It takes a lot of space. This one combines all the patterns into one study, and it pretty much gives you a visual whenever any pattern shows up. For example, right here for XLY, we have a hanging man. If we click here, then you see that it's represented right here on the current bar. If you look over here, it looks like a hanging man right there. Let's see right here. If we scroll down, notice that there's a hammer on ABBV. We click it and we see a hammer right there on the current bar. Okay, here we have a bearish engulfing for craft, and similar behavior. We have a red body kind of engulfing the prior green candle. So yes, it's a great quick way for you to find out which symbols are having any particular pattern. In fact, if you double click on the column header, it puts, all those alerts together. You don't have to, scroll up and down to find the symbols that are triggering the alert. Here are the ones that have a formation on the current bar. Okay, so this doesn't look at historical bar formations. If the formation is present or identified on the current bar, that's when it gives you that alert. All right, guys? Well, in a nutshell, that's what I wanted to share with you. Information about candles, how candlestick formations, because you can pull up a candlestick chart in TradeStation, but identifying candlestick formations is another thing. We don't have any strategies based on candlesticks, so it's interesting that we have the code in here so that if you do want to develop strategies based on these candlestick bar formations, that is a cool exercise to think about and something that we can all, try to create. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your support of the masterclass. On next week, I'll post the schedule early Monday so that you have an idea of what topics are going to be covered next week. Okay, thank you so much for being here and have a great weekend, everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.